Peace and love. We just got a little intro today, but we gotta plug something, because there's so much going on right now with Canaanland. We gotta plug something. So this is from the newly released Up From the Root with our good sister Roots K.
Roots. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisitions. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisition. See me, give me what you want. See me, give me what you want. Roots break through your inquisitions. Moorish I am to the last breath of me. I'm never worried cause my prince holds the legacy. Poor life status I'll forever be. Paint a perfect picture, frame the MSTA. For the works uplifting humanity, I pray and you say sin. Save from the blasphemy. Man dying on the cross, you brave be asking me. Sign on the dotted line to upkeep your fallacy. We coming with the eyes wide open. Listen to the message Drew Ali told them. The vanguard coming through the fold them. Stand strong army, assume your positions. We're coming for the kill, my law inquisitions. Cause it's boom bye bye in the tip wide head. I said it's no remorse cause them plan after dead. Straight shots blasting, active not passive. Breaking bread with the loyal till blood shed on the soil. I'm asking, who's now ready for the war? Knocking at your front door. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisitions. See me, give me what you want. See me, give me what you want. Building up a nation, no hesitation. Claiming our stance, moving out the plantations. My foot plant, northwest in the Mexum. Raw when I chant, revamp T-Rexum. Heart in the middle, chakra, balance. Hard more metal, iron on the map. Fall back, don't giggle. You might miss the point, red dot in the middle. Don't cry me a river. Drew Ali is the giver of salvation. Learn your books, don't quiver. Head sight up, knowledge, birthright bigger. Bigger than you thought. Remember the ancestors who fought. Remember Haiti revolt. Remember the one still caught in the Willie Lynch syndrome. Claiming our dome from our home is the temple. Enlightenment, entitlement, Aquarian info. They think that I've been broke. I'm food for their market. Reincarnation, the Jews never lost it. I mastered it. Time for reveal. Circle 7 seal. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisitions. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisitions. Yo, who this? I tried to tell me rights get left back. This them I tried this, I tell me feet accept that. Who give the loan talk? Who own the land? Yo, who take the chrome and put it in the hands of these weak mind men? Measurement to man's awareness. Take a Euro man face is God. They go to frame it, they play with an amen. Lock up and sit back, these blocks are a racetrack. Who trying to take back? Right sounds for the mic and the spotlight. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice be the insight. I'm trying to take flight, but the vultures trying to get me. Wanna sail out tonight, if you bout it, ride with me. Deserve to see the world, so I'ma take it. Chances for divine transformation, I pay it. Forward for the ones who didn't make it. I'm coming for the taking, taking. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisitions. See me, give me what you want with your definitions. Roots break through your inquisitions.
Right? So you already know. Just newly released Up From the Root, Roots K. You know, that's our secret weapon out here. You know what I mean? That's our secret weapon. So you can go to willofalah.com and you can get the EP, 7 tracks. Sis goes hard. Gonna also throw out there, don't forget, Best of Moorish MC. That's coming soon to willofalah.com. So this is gonna be the mix CD or the mix download. It might not even be CD because it's like an hour and 30 minutes of of strictly Iron Sheik, from Iron Sheik 1 to Iron Sheik 5, right? So know that you're going to get something from there. That's coming. Also, make sure you pick up 27th Letters, Brother Lanre Obey. You know what I mean? Finally got the book out. All those letters that he sent to his daughter while he was incarcerated, compiled in a book form. You know what I mean? So to inspire all those so-called fathers, you know, who got issues and, you know what I mean, got excuses why they can't this and that for their children. Brother was locked up and did what he had to do to make sure that, you know what I mean, his memory doesn't die in her. You know what I mean, kept his memory alive. So you can go to 27thletters.com to support. So we're just going to let people know that you're going to continue to get told, even though we know man knows not by being told, but somebody's got to tell you, and we're going to keep telling you, we're going to keep beating you in the head with it, because our people need to know the truth about their nationality and their birthrights, and the fact that they're not Negro, black, or colored, you know what I mean, or actually Moors. And the ancients have returned. Even though there's a lot of people fronting like this is not what it's about, trust me, this is what it's about, right? Got a quick meme to put out there. Forget all these guys pretending, playing games. There's the real Shaka Amos right there. And then you could see that he's dressed up like a Moor. He's not dressed like no Kemetic, nothing. Trust me that this cartoon guy been out before Shaka Amos been out with his one lock. So there's the Heru lock right there on the head, the bald head with the hair not just there. And if you look at the pantaloons, you look at the shoes, you know what I mean? The real Shaka Amos is a Moor. So don't be listening to these guys lying to you about Kemet and don't want to mention Moors. Because George G.M. James told them that the Moors are the custodians of the ancient Kemetic culture. Right? The Moors are the custodians of the ancient Kemetic culture. They're not the Kemetans, not the African guys, the Moors. Right? For all the haters out there who want to talk about, you know, this fake doctor guy named Reggie that's out there putting out his BS, you know, Red Pill slap him up a few times, you know what I mean, talking BS. We're just going to put it on the record again that Reggie's last name is Mabry, and here's the coat of arms of the last name Mabry. So he's going to tell you he's not a Moor, right? I'm no Moor, but the last name that he's got, Mabry, this is the family crest of Mabry, and right at the top right there, that black head right there is called Blackamoor head. And just do your research on the Blackamoor head so you can know how far back Moors go. It's not some new thing we're starting up, some group or whatever. This is ancient. So, and then you see the 4 quadrants on the shield to let you know it's more science. Right? There's the Blackamoor head for all the haters, all the Moor haters who think and assume that Mabry is some European name that belongs to the Europeans. But you know, they're going to say that they're Kemetic and all that stuff and whatever. You know, they're Kemetic and all that, but you know, they got European names. Playing people. We have another one for the haters. Islam to the Moors in northwest of Mexham near Milwaukee. All the haters that say that the Kingdom of Morocco doesn't recognize the Moors. Well, here's somebody from Morocco right here, And it looks like he's rather comfortable around the Moor. And based on the discussion, from what I understand, the brother from Morocco, across the Atlantic Ocean, from North Africa, was in the most high spirits to know that he left Morocco to go to Morocco, because Morocco, the empire, is over here, and he was familiar with the empire. He knew that there was such a thing as Moroccan Empire, but he also knew that he came from a kingdom, and he also knew that kingdoms are subordinate to empires. So he had to, take the picture. So here's the facts. Remember, all these Moor haters, including Moors, who are trying to sell people the idea that there's no such thing as a Moroccan Empire, right? Well, here's somebody from Morocco acknowledging a Moor from over here. And he's not on some hatred that he can't use the Moroccan flag and all that stuff. They recognize each other. Right? Why? Because we're all one family. And when you look at the brother's skin tone, you realize that he's lighter than the Moor from over here. And that's what Brother Taj Tariq Bey was breaking down to that fool Reggie, that there are amalgamated Moors. So when you look at pale people and you assume that they're European or whatever, don't be stupid with it. Recognize that the Moors been everywhere on the planet, right? The Moors had children with every race of women out there, right? So everybody has Moors in them. And again, this is not some European guy. He's from Morocco. Just like if you go to Egypt, just like if you go to Algeria, just like if you go to Iraq and all these places, and you see these people that are fair, and people assume that, this is a European, took over or whatever. No, they're European. They're amalgamated Moors. Right? So Islam to the fam. Also, we want to also put out, make sure you go on to Brother Bokari Battle Bay's YouTube page, Bokari Badal Bay. When you go on his YouTube page, you'll see some classes called Moors and Perception. So he got one with me, then he's got one with Professor Denham L, and he also got one with Brother Rami Salam L that just dropped. So make sure you check those out so you can, get the perspective, realize what's going on, and that there is unity. Because, Denham L, Rami Salam L, and Kudro L, and Bokari Battle Bay, we're all in Northwest Amexem, but we're in different parts of Northwest Amexem. So the fact that we're doing things together shows that there's Moorish unity. For all the people who want to, where's the Moor? How come the Moors aren't united? And how come the Moors are separated? Forget all that BS. The Moors are united. Active Moors are united. Studious Moors are united. Passive Moors, religious Moors, dirty Moors, I don't know, can't talk for them because I'm not them. But as far as Moors are concerned that are active and studious, I know that we're united. If you're honorable, you can either go on YouTube or Facebook, look up the good brother Zahir Casanova Bay. He has the Google Drive full of information for anybody who's honorable and worthy. If you're not worthy, sorry, you're not going to get access. Nothing personal, but that's just what it is. Don't get mad. Moors aren't doing this and Moors aren't doing that. Don't get mad. Recognize that we're drawing the line, because not everybody is worthy. And if, people like Emily Ill drew the line back then, right? There wouldn't be no Kirkman Bay Moors and Gibbons L Moors and all these different Moors out here trying to pretend like they have some authority with regard to the Moorish movement, right? Quote from our good brother with the Google Drive, Zahir Casanova Bay. If their teachings and energy remind you of what it's like to be black and angry with no remedy, you're rotating amongst the wrong Moors, and shall only pick up the scraps of information left behind by careless Moors who've moved toward another degree. My advice is that you take life serious, because it's not the duty of another to do so for you. Put that one out there again. If their teachings and energy remind you of what it's like to be black and angry with no remedy, you're rotating amongst the wrong Moors, and shall only pick up the scraps of information left behind by careless Moors who've moved toward another degree. My advice is that you take life serious, because it's not the duty of another to do so for you. Take heed to the lessons that Moors, active Moors, put out there, because there's many. You know what I mean? You might go to New Naji L's YouTube page and think, Taj is the only active Moor. And then, Kudro does classes, so he's the only active Moor. And then RV Bay Publications, and those are the only active Moors. And Blog Talk Radio, and those are the... No, there's Moors out there who you don't even know about that are very active. And what's their activity based on? Their activity is based on letting the people know the truth about their nationality and birthrights. Because this is not some secret club, organization, or whatever like that we got the information over here and nobody else has access. This is everybody's information, right? Now, we're going to put it on the record once again that the greatest man to come on the scene to do anything for these Negro black colored people, you hear these black guys say, what have the Moors done for black people? Noble Drew Ali's done everything that he can for black people. They don't want what he brought. That's their problem. Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, unconscious and conscious, that the cold weather is going to be in the south and the warm weather is going to be in the north. And people thought that, this guy's black guy, funny hat guy, teaching Islam, black guy. But after everybody who's snowed in right now, south of here, right? We just want to put on the record today, it's 4 degrees Celsius in Canaanland. Now, if you don't know anything about where we live out here, January and February are supposed to be the most cold times and the most snow supposed to be going on out here, right? Right now, you got no snow out here, and we haven't even hit minus 20 yet this year out here. We haven't hit minus 20 yet. January and February supposed to be minus 30, minus 40 in Canaanland. Just go check all the historical stuff, all these historical record-breaking days of weather where people, don't even know what's going on. We're going to let you know what's going on. The prophet spoke, and his prophecies are manifesting right now. So the cold weather right now is in the south, and the warm weather is in the north. Well, it's not global warming, it's Noble Drew Ali said. And he's a prophet. He saw it coming. Told people. So I would suggest that people start taking him a little bit more serious than they've taken him. Because the amount of information that he's put out to date with regard to what's going to happen and the amount of things that's happened that people just, they just bypass because they think that, he's just funny hat guy. Don't worry, Allah got something for him. They keep playing all the games that they want. But Allah got something for these people who want to deny the prophecy of Noble Drew Ali. and play like he doesn't know what's going on. Right? No snow right now. In quote unquote Canada. No snow. It rained today. Rain in January. Rain in January. Right? There was times out here where city got shut down because of freezing rain. Right? Now when we say freezing rain, we mean that every step that you take, you're falling. Freezing rain. Freezing rain to the point where you can't even get in your car because your car is frozen from the roof to the wheels. Frozen. That you have to ice pick your car open. Try not to scratch the paint and stuff like that. Try not to break the glass trying to scrape ice off the car. But right now it's 4 degrees out here. So people can play games all they want. There's a book by Scholastic, Facts, Stories, and Activities. You know, little children's book. You know, children's book on the Zulus. Other titles: Ancient China, the Aztecs, the Mongols, Ancient Egypt. You know, the Zulus. A lively and fascinating introduction to the dramatic history of the Zulus, full of interesting facts, detailed illustrations, and clear photographs. This book offers a real insight into how the Zulus lived, and not just facts, there's also absorbing activities and a traditional story, all bringing to life different aspects of the remarkable Zulu civilization. And when we go to page 22, right? 22 is 11 twice. 11 is a gateway, right? 11 is a power number. All that high metaphysical stuff that people, you know, want to say is the devil and all that stuff. We could see why Africa Bambaataa changed Zulu nation to Zulu Kemetic Moors. Because right here we have a Zulu carving. Remember, Zulu, this is Africans. You know, people say, oh, they're Africans and all that, but they're not Moors. Okay, well, here's 2 carvings. One of them is wearing a little yarmulke type of stuff. And then one of them has I'm pretty sure that's a cone fez or something relative to a fez or something. This is Zulu, in the Zulu book, page 22. Letting people know, but you know, Moors, we don't know what we're talking about, right? We're not up on knowledge. We're just, you know, funny hat guys. We're just the funny hat guys that nobody wants to take serious. You know, so they can play games all they want, but it's alright. You know, we're just gonna keep pushing on just like we do. 15 things you did not know about the Moors of Spain. We'll just go through some of these. We don't have to go through all. This is from blackhistorystudies.com. 1. The Spanish occupation by the Moors began in 711 AD, when an African army under the leader Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from northern Africa and invaded the Iberian Peninsula, Al-Andalus. 2. A European scholar sympathetic to the Spaniards remembered the conquests in this way. The reins of their horses were as fire, their faces black as pitch, their eyes shone like burning candles, their horses were swift as leopards, and the riders fiercer than a wolf in a sheepfold at night. The noble Goths, German rulers of Spain to whom Roderick belonged, were broken in an hour, quicker than a tongue can tell. Quoted in Edward Scobie, The Moors and Portugal's Global Expansion in Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan van Sertima. 4. Basil Davidson, one of the most noted historians, recognized and declared that there were no lands at the time, the 8th century, more admired by its neighbors or more comfortable to live in than the rich African civilization which took shape in Spain. And then clearly you know that he's using Africa as synonymous with Moor. He's not using Africa as, that's their identity. He's using that synonymous with Moor. 7. Education was universal in Moorish Spain, available to all, while in Christian Europe, 99% of the population were illiterate, and even kings could neither read nor write. At that time, Europe had only 2 universities. The Moors had 17 great universities. These were located in Almeria, Cordova, Granada, Jaén, Malaga, Seville, and Toledo. 9. Over 4,000 Arabic words and Arabic-derived phrases have been absorbed into Spanish language. Words beginning with al, for example, are derived from Arabic. Arabic words such as algebra, alcohol, chemistry, alkaline, and cipher entered the language. Even words such as checkmate, influenza, typhoon, orange, and cable can be traced back to Arabic origins. 10. The most significant Moorish musician, known as Ziryab, the Blackbird, Ziryab, who arrived in Spain in 822. The Moors introduced earliest versions of several instruments, including the lute, the guitar, and the lyre, L-Y-R-E. Ziryab changed the style of eating by breaking meals into separate courses, beginning with soup and ending with desserts. The Moors introduced paper to Europe and Arabic numerals, which replaced the clumsy Roman system. The Moors introduced new crops, including the orange, lemon, peach, apricot, fig, sugarcane, dates, ginger, pomegranate, saffron, cotton, silk, rice, which remain some of Spain's main products today. The Moorish rulers lived in sumptuous palaces, while the monarchies of Germany, France, and England dwelt in barns, with no windows and no chimneys, and with only a hole in the roof for the exit of smoke. One such Moorish Paris, Alhambra, literally the red one in Granada, is one of Spain's architectural masterpieces. Alhambra was the seat of Muslim rulers from 13th century to the end of the 15th century. It was through Africa that the knowledge of China, India, and Arabia reached Europe. The Moors brought the compass from China into Europe. The Moors brought the compass from China into Europe. There's one for you. The Moors brought the compass from China. What Moors doing in China? I'm going to tell you about the Moors ruled and occupied Lisbon, named Lathbuna by the Moors, and the rest of the country until well into the 12th century. They were finally defeated and driven out by the forces of King Alfonso Henriquez. The scene of this battle was the Castello de Sa Gorge, or Castle of St. George. The amount of stuff that we did, and people tried to deny this thing, like, I don't know. But we'll continue on. Taylor Brown, news writer for thirdeyemax.com. Third IMAX, and it's EYE Max. Third IMAX. Have you ever heard of the Moors of Africa? Do you know their significance to rising powers of medieval Europe? Okay, well, let's start from the beginning. The term Moors is associated with people from North Africa, even though the term Moors was used to reference people throughout Africa. The reason why they are thought to be mostly North African is because the nations that were sub-Saharan fell to the slave trade. It was the 300 plus year legacy of sub-Saharan slavery which is largely responsible for distorting the fact that the Moors were also people from all over Africa. Because the Moors, i.e. Moros, were the ones who conquered Portugal and Spain, European slave traders, slave owners, and most of their descendants did not want to acknowledge that those who fell to slavery were such an important people within European history. There is also controversy about whether or not the Moors were actually African or Arabic. These scholars refuse to acknowledge that Africa has a powerful history. Some have even argued that they were singularly Asiatic or Semitic, but most primary source evidence reveals that the Moors were clearly understood to have been a predominantly African people. The Moors were mostly Muslim. Arabs had come into the continent and thus spread their religion, and this is why there is some confusion with the nationality, ethnicity of the Moors. They had an Arabic culture, but physically they were African, not Arab. They had retained the knowledge of the ancient world from both Egypt and Greece. Their knowledge was so profound, they knew the world wasn't round. They were skilled in the sciences and astrology. When they entered into Europe, specifically Portugal and Spain, they took over but did not force their religion on anyone. They did not force their religion on anyone. So that's for all those people out there who are looking at Moors of today and talking about, I don't want to be Moor because I don't want to convert to Islam. Ain't nobody told you convert to anything. Nobody said in order for you to be Moor, you have to convert to Islam. And if you go look at, if you go to YouTube, look up Brother Hanif, and Brother Hanif has some videos from the time when the good brother, Dr. Alim El-Bey, was debating that goofball Seti. He put out some videos relative to information that Seti was putting out in that debate crap that they were doing. And trust me, just go watch some of those, especially if you're new Moors. You think that you have to convert to something in order to proclaim your nationality. When they entered into Europe, specifically Portugal and Spain, they took over but did not force their religion on anyone. Setting up institutions and schools, they helped Spain prosper. The Moors were the reason why Spain became the first world power. With their knowledge in such things as architecture and geometry, they helped jumpstart the Spaniards into their next era. As they established their presence, the Moors brought new ideas that the majority of people had never heard of. Sound familiar to today? The main religion in Spain and Portugal was Catholicism. The Catholic leaders at the time did not approve of this new knowledge being spread around to its people. Dr. Bay, Jose Pimenta Bay, a professor here in Berea College, educated in African and African American studies, history, and psychology, says science was seen as a threat to the interests of the church at that time. There were several situations where someone who was learned in the sciences and tried to voice them were named heretics. Why was science so against the interests of the church? The leaders wanted to keep control of their people, and if knowledge spread, it would lead their followers to question what they believed. The Pope's power would dwindle if they let such a thing happen. In order to fix this, Catholic leaders at that time began ousting the Moors. They closed down the Moors' institutions and universities and either forced them to leave or forced them to deny their faith in Islam and convert to Catholicism when they were still subjected to persecution. Those who refused to do so were expelled or killed. Why is it that knowledge of these people is not well known? Why are they barely mentioned in history books? Could possibly be due to racism. It makes sense since Africa was targeted with slavery. Why would the enslavers want to acknowledge that the people whom they enslaved came from a powerful, intelligent, and prosperous nation? Slaves are known to be subordinate and inferior to their masters, and that's exactly what the slave trade set out to do when they took people from Africa, make them inferior by starting with their mindset. The idea carried on throughout the times of slavery, emancipation, the civil rights movement era, and even now. The education system had historically been systematically set up to keep certain knowledge away from people, to keep them ignorant of the truth, to keep them in certain mindset. Unfortunately, this plan has prospered. Dr. Bay says, Jose Pimenta Bay, the people who don't want this knowledge known depend on the ignorance and historical illiteracy of the people they're talking to. The people who don't want this knowledge known depend on the ignorance and historical illiteracy of the people they're talking to. Africans and quote-unquote African Americans, just like every other people, came from various cultures and histories of great distinction. And that was by Taylor Brown, berea.edu, and this is from November or January 2014. No secret, but it's alright. Now, there was some stuff going on, but we'll just put this out. Stuff going on out here, you know. Canaanland highwaymen been in the news as of late because one of their so-called highwaymen is on trial for shooting some boy on a streetcar, you know. So we just want to go through an article by Wendy Gillis, news reporter, from January 25th, because he just got charged with attempted murder. The so-called highwayman got charged with attempted murder, but he murdered somebody. So he murdered somebody, but he got charged with attempted murder. And, you know, he's off with pay and all that stuff, you know, the usual. Almost 1 year to the day, teenager Sammy Yatim was shot dead by Toronto Police Constable James Forcillo. there came a perplexing new development in the murder case that was already being described in never-befores. The Crown lawyers, fastidiously preparing their second-degree murder prosecution against Forcillo, had laid a second charge against the quote-unquote officer in connection to Yatim's shooting death in July 2013, attempted murder. Coming after the officer's preliminary hearing, the new and exceptionally rare charge made a seeming contradiction. The Crown was alleged Forcillo both attempted to murder and murdered Yatim. The legal and policing community responded with bewilderment. This was a head-scratcher, a mystery. But after a 3-month trial and 6 days of jury deliberation, it was the only charge that stuck. Forcillo was found not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Yatim, shot 8 times by the so-called officer while alone on a Dundas Street West streetcar. Forcillo was also found not guilty of manslaughter. Constable James Forcillo leaves court in Toronto on Monday. Forcillo has been found guilty of attempted murder in the 2013 shooting death of Sammy Yatim. In a precedent-setting case, the jury of 7 women and 4 men found 4 gateways, right? Found the officer guilty of attempted murder, a verdict only made possible by the Crown's decision to split the total of 9 shots by Forcillo into 2 separate charges. With the verdict, the once confounded attempted murder charge transformed into what some experts say was a savvy strategy. It's clearly a compromise, but in many ways, it was a very intelligent decision by the Crown, said University of Toronto criminologist Scott Wortley. I thought it was perplexing at first. It makes sense afterwards. It became clear at the trial that the new charge was added due to forensic evidence revealing the fatal bullets that struck Yatim during the first volley of shots. Those first 3 bullets, 2 of them to the chest, quote-unquote, fatally damaged Yatim's heart and severed his spine, according to the Crown. A third one fractured his right arm. The other bullets, 5 of the 6 struck Yatim, hit his abdomen and groin when he was already on the floor of the streetcar. None of those shots caused fatal wounds, though Yatim was minutes away from dying. The jury's verdicts mean they believe or were left with reasonable doubt that Forcillo was justified in fatally shooting Yatim with the first 3 bullets, or that he was acting in self-defense in response to a threat from a guy lying shot up. Right? That guy's a threat. The guy lying down shot up. The second-degree murder charge was laid August 2013, 1 month after Yatim's death, by Ian Scott, then the director of Ontario's Special Investigations Unit, the civilian police watchdog that probes injuries or deaths involved in police. That's out here, that's SIU. So you can do your research on SIU just to see the corruption that is basically taking place, right? And it's clear that there's corruption taking place, right? It's not even a secret that there's corruption taking place, right? Once the charge was laid, the team of prosecutors led by Milan Rupik took over the case and did a thorough analysis that included a careful examination of the case law in this area and realized that attempted murder could be an associated charge. I got to hand it to the prosecution team. In retrospect, it was a very wise thing for them to do, Scott said. Just a very fine analysis. The other view is that the Crown increased the likelihood of a compromise verdict, blah, blah, blah. So basically, Highwayman got hit up with an attempted murder charge, which is, some 4 years in jail or whatever. But, he's off pay. He's off work with pay right now, just because it's one of those situations where, you know, the justice system, so-called justice system out here is so backwards that don't forget, they got video too. They got the streetcar video of him shooting up this guy 9 times or whatever like that. And they found a thin line that they can use to get rid of, you know, the murder charge, because, you know, the shots that were delivered into this young man's body, they separated the shots. So these shots over here didn't kill him, but these shots over here killed him. But because he was already on the ground and he was dead already almost, it's attempted murder. It's not really murder, right? This is how, you know, lily white Canada is doing their stuff out here, right? There may have been less likelihood of the enhanced credibility effect, the phenomenon by which a police officer is perceived by members of the jury to be more trustworthy than other witnesses. I have a sense that given his experience as a criminal jurist, it's possible that, had it been judge alone, there would have been a conviction of murder. So now, you know, we're questioning the jury now. Because if a judge alone is gonna give a murder charge off the bat, no questions asked, because, you know, the guy with the gun shot 9 times, killed the guy. The jury now, which, you know, out here, the cases that involve jury, they look at that as, you know, pretty much everywhere, jury is really the judge. But, you know, that'll be the case because, you know, out here, the judges out here aren't called judges. They're called justices of the peace. So since they're a justice of the peace, their jurisdiction can't really have power in certain cases, especially cases involving so-called highwaymen who, like we said earlier, the Special Investigations Unit, so anytime there's some type of, whether it's traffic, shooting, whatever, if there's a death or something like that involving highwayman, these Special Investigative Unit guys come in and then they make the decision on whether, you know, officer did it or not. Even those guys were taken out the picture for this, and they left it solely on the jury to decide. Prior to Monday's verdict, Forcillo's trial was already rare. Since the creation of the SIU in 1990, only one other Ontario police officer has been accused of murder for an on-duty shooting, but the charge never made it past the preliminary hearing, meaning Forcillo was the first to go to trial. So in all these other cases of individuals getting killed by highwaymen out here, because of the SIU's involvement, all of them always get off. They always get off. And there was only 2 cases since 1990 where there was a trial, and one of them didn't even go to trial, right? So this is what we're dealing with out here as far as, you know, people looking at Moors and there being this thing of, well, you know, well, all Moors do is get arrested and all Moors. So people are already here in Canaanland. This is why it's an issue with getting people to proclaim that they're Moors here, because the corruption here by the so-called city, province, right, and federal quote-unquote government, the corruption so deep here that they do intimidate people from standing up for their rights. And the only time that people stand up for their rights out here is if it's some mass gathering of, Black Lives Matter and those type of stuff. There ain't no individuals standing up for rights out here other than Moors, right? Now, with regard to Sami Yatim, one thing that we want to, bring to people's attention is that Sami Yatim was a Syrian. And Canada Corporation has been one of the biggest welcomers of Syrians to this jurisdiction to help them get out the war and all that type of stuff, you know what I mean, right? Also, you'll realize that during these so-called articles, just go check, Sami Yatim murder. If you go check the record, you'll find out that throughout all the articles or whatever, they always identified him as, teenager and troubled teen, and they never identified where he's from. It was other people that came out and said that, he's national from somewhere else. He's not even from here. He came here, on his own. What's real interesting is that the name Yatim means orphan boy. His name means orphan boy. And he was in this country alone. His family sent him here in order to escape the Syrian stuff that's going on in Syria. And then he's a troubled teen and all this type of stuff, and he was having problems or whatever. But then when you go talk to all the people who knew him, he didn't have no problems or nothing like that. Like, he was a regular teenager. So, they got their little corruption thing going on as usual. Now, what's interesting is when you go check the other killings, you have, for example, Brother Andrew Loku, who was so-called killed by police, right? He was South Sudanese. And all throughout the stuff, they never ever identified him as a black man that got killed. They always identified him as a Sudanese, South Sudanese. Never did they classify him as a black man, right? Because as we know, the order of the day is what's your nationality. And if you don't have a nationality, then, you'll see why they do this game of classifying our people, specifically our people, and regardless of what the situation is, our people always get classified with the adjectives. Our people are never classified by their national descent. Because, there is no national descent. Because there's no such thing as black people. Black people are property, wards of the crown, wards of the state, and rights do not apply to them. Rights do not apply to people who are not tied to nations. Like we brought up the Indian man who got his spine severed because somebody thought there was a black guy looking into people's garages. And highwaymen came, tackled him, then they realized, oops, that wasn't a black guy, that was Indian. And then the embassy stepped up and made sure that these people who are making this claim that he is, whatever he says that he is, right? Whatever they assume him as, that they don't do that. They recognize that he's from a nation and that something has to be done with regard to the actions of these so-called whatever. Now, how come all these, we always bring it up, how come these people who are so-called, slaves or whatever like that, how come the places where they claim to come from don't stand up for them. Right? No nation steps up to assist them. All of them are left at the hands of the so-called black leaders who push their civil rights and whatever else that they want to push in order to, get these people to, be under some assumed jurisdiction where they're respected, when there's no respect in them. Right? Zero respect for them. And, with regard to Mansour Bal-Bey, they always called him Mansour Bal-Bey when they referenced him. But black guys is not going to look at that, at the fact that they never called him black. They always identified him by his nationality. They're not going to look at that. They're going to look at, well, he died. Cops did it. What are you going to do about it? Well, like Red Pill said, the Turks are in Egypt, mofo. What are you going to do about it? Not going to do nothing? You're just going to take people over there and play games and stuff like that? It's not the same. Anybody who is of some type of national origin, they always get acknowledged, right? Which leads to a Norwegian, because all these people claim that, they're not from over here. There's no way that America's their home. They come from somewhere else. There's a Norwegian by the name of Thor Heyerdahl, Heyerdahl, born in Larvik, Norway. Norwegian ethnologist and adventurer who organized and led the famous Kon-Tiki and Ra Transoceanic scientific expeditions. Both expeditions were intended to prove the possibility of ancient transoceanic contacts between distant civilizations and cultures. For the most part, Heyerdahl's theories have not been accepted by anthropologists. Heyerdahl attended the University of Oslo, studying zoology and geography, but left before graduating to travel to Polynesia. It was while on Fatu Hiva in the Marquesas that he began to wonder how Pacific inhabitants had reached the islands. On April 29, 1947, Heyerdahl and a small crew sailed from Pacific coast of South America in the primitive raft Kon-Tiki. Their arrival in Polynesia 3.5 months later demonstrated the possibility that the Polynesians may have originated in South America. The story of the voyage was related in Heyerdahl's book Kon-Tiki in 1950 and a documentary motion picture of the same name. In 1969, Heyerdahl and a small crew crossed the Atlantic Ocean from Morocco to within 600 miles of Central America in a facsimile of an ancient Egyptian reed boat, the Ra, thus confirming the possibility that the pre-Columbian cultures of the Western Hemisphere might have been influenced by Egyptian civilization. Again, the voyage was described by Heyerdahl in the Ra Expeditions 1971 and was the subject of a documentary film. Late in 1977, Heyerdahl and an international crew embarked upon Tigris Expedition, a 4-month, 4,000-mile voyage in a craft made of reeds. The expedition began on the Tigris River in Iraq, traveling down the Persian Gulf, across the Arabian Sea to Pakistan, and ending in the Red Sea. The goal of the Tigris expedition was to establish the possibility that the ancient Sumerians might have used similar means to spread their culture throughout Southwest Asia and the Arabian Peninsula. The voyage was recorded in Heyerdahl's book The Tigris Expeditions, 1979, and in a documentary film. He subsequently led expeditions to Maldive Islands, to Easter Island, and to an archaeological site in Peru. Heyerdahl's books include Aku Aku, The Secret of Easter Island, AKU AKU, Fatu Hiva, FATU HIVA, Back to Nature, Early Man and the Ocean, A Search for the Beginnings of Navigation and Seaborne Civilizations, in which he synthesized the findings of earlier expeditions and provided additional evidence of his theory of cultural diffusion. So there is a direct link between these so-called people classified as Negro black colored, that they lie and say they came over here on a slave ship, and the fact that these same people who are classified as Negro black colored, that say that their ancient ancestors are black Africans and all that stuff, that they actually came over here pre-Columbian by themselves in their own boats or whatever like that. And we already know that once you're talking about boats, once you're talking about navigation, you're talking about Moors. That's just what it is. It's not anything that we can say has nothing to do with us. That's just what it is, right? One of the Moors sent this, something caught his eye. He was in his child's school or something like that, and they have a mascot called, or they have a team name for the school called the Rangers. And then it just caught his eye, that the team mascot has the 5-point star on the hat. They're called the Rangers, right? But they have the mascot dressed or looking like a bandit or a thief. Right? What did they steal? They stole the culture of the Moors. Because we already know that the 5-point star is relative to our people's culture, not some pale people. Right? So they just put it out there because they know how dumbed down our people are, that they can't figure this stuff out. But our people are starting to wake up. Our people are coming into the truth about who they are, truth about their ancestry, right? And they are starting to see things. Things are starting to become clear to our people once again. And all that is due to the fact that this man came, right, and started telling the people the truth about their nationality and their birthrights. That they are not Negro, black, and colored. That they are not Negro, black, and colored. That they are not Ethiopian, for all the Rastafarians out there. That they are Moors. And that we have a history that is 10,000 to 50,000 years old on the earth plane, on this side of the earth plane. But not only that, if you talk to individuals like Peter Moon and Rick Smith, they'll tell you that we also have a galactic history. Talk to the Dogon, our history able to be written down or displayed like that, because it's just too extensive, right? And there is no separation between melanated people from ancient times to now. It's the same people, same pulse, same blood running through the veins. We're just in a different quote-unquote time. There was something else posted. I'm just going to read that. that I seen posted today. I will just throw this out there so that people can know instead of assuming stuff about what Moors are about. Another common source and part of the said Moorish controversy has been, and is predominantly rooted in the distracting debates as to whether the Moorish movement was merely and only a religious-oriented organization, and of the falsely proposed position that civic-natured activities are in contradiction to Noble Drew Ali's instructions. Some Moorish Americans have a position of authority. Some Moorish Americans having a position of authority in the movement have claimed to the public that the Moorish Divine and National Movement has no civic agenda for teaching Moors to be better citizens, and thus they have been little or no standard establishment of Moorish schools. Take particular note of the negative cessation of the Moorish Guide national newspaper. Calculate the effects of the lack of an organized practice of teaching law and history. Thusly, one sees little or no organized instruction of the newly conscious Moors in the universally known disciplines which are relative to national governmental principles. Question: how can the Moorish Americans take their place among the affairs of men if they are not made knowledgeable about the law of the land and of the international laws as recognized by the families of nations? Now, when you go check, Brother Denham L did a masterful interview with Brother Bukhari Battle Bay, right, in the Moors and Perception. And one of the things that he connected was the fact that the Moorish movement is divine and national, and the fact that divine is first. So Moors can't take the position of even making claims that it's only civic either. You know, it's definitely not religious. Even though religion is mentioned, the reality is that when Moors say religion, we actually mean divine. And the connection that Brother Denham L was making was that you can't have the divine, right, and you can't have the civic as separate. These are two intertwining perspectives that both need to be considered. And if you're looking at it from a civic perspective only, you're eventually going to run into potholes, because you need the divine in order to fill the potholes so your civics can run smoothly. If you don't have the divine perspective, if you don't understand that there is a divine perspective, right, then your civic demonstration is not going to be exactly how, or it's not going to be able to be exercised in its full capacity without the divine intervention to make sure that the civics runs properly, right? Because remember, he was making reference to Noble Drew Ali telling the Moors that Allah guides the Moorish movement. So if Allah is guiding the Moorish movement and then man is Allah in flesh, then every Moorish American has to deal with this from a divine and civic perspective. Okay? Now, we're just going to read something and relate. Somebody brought up the question on Sunday about the 4 quadrants on the broken circle and what do they mean, and we outlined some things of what they mean, right? There's some other things to add on to that we're gonna touch on quick fast. And for us to, like we always talk about, Don't cast everything away just because we came into this new perspective, right? So we throw away all the old stuff that we had. Go back and revisit the old stuff, because there's things in the old stuff that with a Moorish mindset now, we can look at things from a totally different perspective, right? So this is the biggest secret. David Icke. This is where he goes. And we want to put some things in perspective with regard to this. Everything that exists is an energy field, a unique vibrational pattern of energy created by thought and emotion. All that exists is the same energy, but these infinite patterns create infinite forms, just as water can manifest as liquid, clouds, steam, and ice. They look and feel very different, but they are still water in different forms. Some energy patterns manifest as the human body, others the human mind, still others the birds, trees, insects, water, sky, and air. At the level of pure energy, everything is connected to everything else. There is no us and them, only we and ultimately I. Potentially, we have the ability to access all other energy, and as energy and consciousness are the same, the ability to access all consciousness, the infinite mind we call quote-unquote God. This quote-unquote God is not apart from us, it is us, and we are it. We are an aspect of the infinite mind, as are the quote-unquote reptilians and all that exists, and therefore we have the potential to tap into all the infinite mind, because at our highest expression, that is what we all are, everything. We are like droplets in an infinite ocean, individual to an extent, but together we make the whole, the sum total of droplets. Without the droplets, there can be no ocean. The question, however, is this: how much of this ocean are we connecting with? If it is a tiny fraction, you will live in a cocoon, an egg, a shell, as I call it, delinked from your infinite potential for knowledge, love, understanding, and wisdom. See figure 54. So then we talk about figure 54, that's right here. And then under it, it says imprisonment. And then that's somebody there caught up in a shell, right? Trapped, because they see themselves as a droplet, not an ocean, right? You will live a predictable life dominated by worry and fear, and believe that you are ordinary and powerless to control your own destiny. If you open your mind and open your heart and break out of that cocoon, you connect with more and more of infinity. And in doing so, you understand that you are more than a physical body experiencing one meaningless lifetime. You are an infinite consciousness, experiencing this world as part of your eternal journey of evolution through experience. You are everything, and you have the potential to know everything and do everything. And then that one is freedom, right? So this is where majority of our people are when they're classifying themselves as Negro, black, colored, African, or whatever like that. They're trapped in their little cocoon that they think is a reality, right? They're trapped in this cocoon that they think is a reality. But the reality is that they're really infinite consciousness, right? They're not just this husk, this physical body, which leads us to our symbol on the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, the Moorish Science Temple of America. right? We know that 7 represents perfected man. And Brother Denham L was breaking down that when we see ourselves in situations, when we see ourselves being tested, our duty is to continue to correct ourselves so that we can be moving towards perfection. Because Allah is perfect. We're not perfect. We're moving towards perfection. And we're moving towards perfection by battling these foes so we can gain strength. By 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, battling the temptations in order to better ourselves. The 4 quadrants on the circle 7 are the gateways in order for man to get glimpses of freedom. Because if this was a closed circle, then it would be imprisonment. Right? But the quadrants in the circle are for us to reach outside of our imprisonment that we were in as Negro, Black, colored people. So when we say about Drew Ali as a mastermind, and we start analyzing in depth the things that he laid down for us, we realize that it wasn't just for our physical, realization of who we are and all that stuff. That there was a very divine aspect that was also to be considered as well, right? In order for us to get to this place, right? Now, which one of these 2 states of being is more easy to control? Of course, the answer is obvious, and this explains so much about the world we have seen throughout known human history. This is why the knowledge of who we really are has been systematically destroyed in the public arena. So there's been a systematic thing going on to keep the people in their little cocoon. Right? That's why, Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that, another one of, our good brother, Zahir Casanova Bay, always beating these people up with, stuff for Moors to consider. Noble Drew Ali said, I'm a universal prophet, and my philosophy is universal. Right? I'm a universal prophet. Right? If he's universal, that means he's not in a cocoon. He's not just stuck to the earth plane. Right? He's transcending time, space, mind, and everything else. Okay? If the prophet and his philosophy is universal, how could he possibly teach others to be partial, which is not universal? And then you go to the definition of partial in the Black's Law Dictionary. Relating to or constituting a part, not complete, not entire or universal, not general or total. So when people say that, Noble Drew Ali said that we're part and partial, and they partial, they're letting you know that they're trying to cocoon you. They're letting you know that they don't want you to be the butterfly. They want you to stay the caterpillar. Because if you stay the caterpillar, then they can control you. Because, you're in a cocoon. The universalness of Noble Drew Ali's teachings, like we said, transcend everything that we thought is, was, and ever shall be. Brother Tallahassee, one of the Moors out here, that's always his quote is more can't come to the temple or whatever because I'm in the trenches. I'm always in the trenches, right? Every day calling me about something that happened while he's in the trenches, meaning in society, and speaking about this thing, nationality and birthrights. So we were talking about him and his boss, his manager, supervisor, or whatever, this construction place where he works at, and named Ash. And Ash is from one of the, quote unquote, Atlantis Islands. So he has been, giving Ash little keys or whatever like that. So a couple nights ago, not Ash, Brother Tallahassee, forgot his keys home. He forgot his keys at his son's house. So he went to the security guard, in the building. I left my keys, you know what I'm saying? Like, could you let me in or whatever? Security guard's like, well, I don't know. Policy is, how do I know that's where you live and blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, if you open the door, I could go inside and get something for you to prove that I live there. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble, blah, blah. He's like, okay, you know what? How about I show you ID? So, Moors, pulled out his nationality card, put down his nationality card just to show you that, I am who I say that I am. You know what I mean? Let me in and then I'm going to go bring something up for you or whatever. Guy looks at the nationality card. Looks at him. You're Moorish? Yeah. My granddad was Moorish. Now this is somebody from Portugal. This is somebody from Portugal, right? So the Portuguese man knows that there's a connection to him and Moors because his granddad is Moorish. The top one. His granddad is Moorish. Right? So once the Portuguese brother made a link to Brother Tallahassee being Moorish, right? Brother Tallahassee being Moorish, and his granddad being Moorish, he didn't even care about nothing for that. Went, got the key, opened up the door for him, you know what I mean? Didn't even check to see if anything in the house has his name on it, his whatever like that. He just went on the fact that he was Moorish and his granddad was Moorish and let him in the spot. Okay? So, again, to show that the prison that Noble Drew Ali got us out of, right? His teachings were so universal that they transcend all different types of cultures, right? They allow us to be here and have our energies go through those gaps, right? Body, mind, soul, spirit. Whereas if these were closed, we would just be physical only. We would just be physical beings only. We would only looking at things in this mundane perspective. We say that this man was a mastermind, right? We have to acknowledge and recognize that he knew exactly what he was doing when he presented this for the Moors, when he made this symbol for the Moors, when he told us, 7, when he told us Holy Covenant and all these other things that he told us, to make sure that we were not being circumscribed and cocooned. And that once we study, these gaps become wider and wider and wider and wider until perfected man is not enclosed anymore. Right? So when we look at Circle 7, this is where he wanted us to get to. He wanted us to get to the place where we're free. He didn't want us to be closed in. He wanted us to recognize that, we have a potential that we must reach. And again, the lessons are all there, right? Now we're talking about, again, using the quadrants as a release valve, right? Using the quadrants, we got 4 release valves that we have access to, and any one of those release valves is going to assist us in getting out of the imprisonment, right? The vibrational prison, as David Icke talks about. He says, the reptilians have imprisoned so much of human consciousness within the lower 4th dimension prison of fear, guilt, and frustration. Only by opening our hearts and minds can we escape and reconnect with our infinite self. Love is the answer. What did Noble Drew Ali tell the Moors? Learn to love instead of hate. What did Noble Drew Ali tell the Moors? Where can you meet Allah? In the heart. What did Noble Drew Ali tell the Moors? Go back to the ancient mind of your foremothers and forefathers. So now you have this picture now of an individual. There's one individual trapped, right? He's on the earth plane. But he's trapped in the vibrational prison. And then you have the other individual bursting out of the cocoon, or being the butterfly, or using one of the quadrants to free themselves from the 4th, 3rd, and whatever other dimensional prison that we find ourselves locked in and can't get out of. Right? And then we already know that, this guy's on the other side as far as, his physical stuff that he deals with. But his metaphysical and esoteric knowledge is what our ancient foremothers and forefathers had access to, right? To control this planet, they keep the mass of humanity at or below that level and disconnect them from anything higher. When it is understood what has happened in the world and is still happening, again makes perfect sense. Crucial to maintaining the human psyche in disconnected ignorance is the manipulation of low vibrational emotion, fear, guilt, resentment, dislike of self, and condemnation of others, which in the end are all expressions of fear. These are the very emotions which resonate to the frequency range of the lower 4th dimension, and once we succumb to domination by these emotions, we succumb to the control of the quote-unquote reptilian consciousness. And then make sure that you do your research on Sister Jewel Pookrum, right? And Sister Jewel Pookrum talking about the reptilian brain and how society wants people's mindset to be on the low vibratory frequency of the reptilian brain. But recognize that the reptilian brain, even though that it's a low vibrational frequency, if you can use the reptilian brain right, you can cut your finger off and grow it back. You can cut your arm off and grow it back if you're using the reptilian brain properly. But you're going to have to, succumb. You're going to have to give up something to exercise the reptilian brain to its full capacity. No different than, you cut a snake's tail off, it's going to grow back. Cut a lizard tail off, it's going to grow back eventually. Because they're wired to do that. But, they're also cursed and they just run on their belly and that's all that they do. Right? These are the very emotions which resonate to the frequency range of the lower fourth dimension, and once we succumb to the domination of these emotions, we succumb to the control of the reptilian consciousness. Notice that I said domination. Feeling these emotions as part of life experience is fine. This is important in our evolution to greater understanding and wisdom. It is when these emotions control you that the whole focus of your psyche becomes plugged into the lower fourth dimension to such an extent that the reptilian consciousness can connect and infiltrate your thought patterns. So the Brotherhood use horrific satanic rituals and sacrifice to synchronize their initiates with the reptilian wavelengths. They also seek to stimulate the character traits of our R complex, the reptilian part of our brain, which manifests as aggression, ritualism, and desire for hierarchical structure, and so on. So when Noble Drew Ali told Moors, read your Holy Quran, read your silent mysteries, or mysteries of the silent brotherhood. But people are holding those things back from people. They are ultimately stimulating their R complex, which has these people in a mindset where they desire for hierarchical structure. Meaning the grand sheik, the grand governor, and then there's these people here called adepts, and then nobody can't do anything unless the adepts say whatever. When the reality is that it's the people that are supposed to be free. The people are supposed to be using their tools, carpenter's tools, in the workshop of the mind, so they themselves can become the priest. And once they become the priest, they will take the position without the title and go do the work that these priests were supposed to be doing since 1929 that they didn't do. And that's going and getting their people and doing the humanitarian work of uplifting fallen humanity. And like we said, go listen to the Moors and Perception, Denham L, so you can get a mind swell of the power of us exercising from the divine perspective, right? So we got some questions or whatever, so let's just hit those up. Now, first question was, can you talk about home rule and how it applies to the Moorish Science Temple? Specifically, ILCS 805 section 35. This is the template the Prophet followed when writing the shorthand version of the Articles of Incorporation on the back of the 101s. Also, how does this relate to Moors who have not proclaimed in the temple? Are they in line with the Prophet? Can they be included under the jurisdiction of the MSTA as it relates to home rule? So, let's go to home rule. All right, home rule. And where's that 101 question there? Home rule. In constitutional and statutory law, local self-government, or the right thereof. In British politics, a program or plan for the right of local self-government for Ireland under the lead of an Irish national parliament, etc. So the perspective of home rule with regard to the Moorish movement is the concept or the idea of self-governance and not having to be under the jurisdiction thereof of quote-unquote statutes, ordinances, created by foreign powers. If Moors study, they would realize that what Noble Drew Ali had set up for the Moorish Science Temple of America under home rule is the fact that the Moorish Science Temple of America, the jurisdiction of the Moorish Science Temple of America, is supposed to be your so-called constitutional representatives for or in the republic or republican or jurisdiction of United States of America. And the Moorish Science Temple of America is supposed to exercise the same way that the state exercises. So what does the state do? The state, whether it's, Illinois, New York, Pennsylvania, etc., the state is supposed to handle the affairs of the citizens. The state is responsible to make sure that the people are not being taken advantage of and their constitutional rights are being respected. When we go to the back of the 101, our authority, right? The back of the 101, our authority, it's laid out that see Heard's Revised Statute, chapter 32, 36. And when you go to Heard's Revised Statute, chapter 32 and 36, you would see within Heard's Revised Statute that this format of affidavit at the back of the 101 questionnaire is in Heard's Revised Statute. And in exercising on behalf of the Moors, Noble Drew Ali, Mealy Ill, Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay were appointed as vestrymen, missionaries, wardens, etc., in order to have the trustee power to exercise for the Moors who were part of this body politic called Moorish Science Temple of America. And as we know, right, there was infiltration. That's why on May 12, 1931, Wendell E. Green, attorney at law, sent a letter to Mr. E. Mealy Ill of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation of Chicago, Illinois. Dear Sir, kindly acknowledging receipt of $120 for professional services rendered in the case of Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation by C. Kirkman Bay versus E. Mealy Ill. This is to further state that the verdict was entered in favor of the defendant. which was yourself, Emily Ill, by Judge Morhart, Moerhart, in the Municipal Courtroom 913 on May 17, 1931, case number 1748990. So we know that there was infiltration because the Moors realized that, well, the adepts realized that the Moors were really just followers of Noble Drew Ali. They didn't study. So they were able to take the powers of this, create their own thing under the same Heard's Revised Statute or whatever. But remember that they also knew that they couldn't change anything that Noble Drew Ali did. That's why you have some people come out, they got ink on their stuff, and then some people say they're 501c3, and then some people say that they're this and they're that with regard to Moorish Science Temple of America, when the Moorish Divine and National Movement is really what it's about. If there's infiltration, you know, again, we're going back to the quadrants or the release valves to bring you back home when you get cocooned or when you get trapped in jurisdiction that is claiming to be the jurisdiction. In order to get out of the cocoon, you can use any of the release valves to free yourself from what opportunist Moors were trying to get people trapped in. Now, with regard to the second part of the question, because remember, Noble Drew Ali never ever, other than this, Noble Drew Ali didn't push statutes. He didn't say enforce statutes, right? Yeah, this still applies. If you're part of this is why you have the Moorish consulate post, right? So you have the Moorish consulate post. Just go on YouTube, look up Moorish consulate post, and you see those Moors exercising based on this. And if you want to exercise based on this, then that's where you would have to be. Moorish consulate post, because those are the only Moors out there with regard to exercising Moorish Science Temple that utilize Heard's Revised Statute and this setup. Right? Those are the only Moors that exercise this to its full capacity. Okay, and again, remember that they're doing that based on home rule, which is in constitutional and statutory law. Right? So again, you have two pillars, constitutional and statutory law. Statutory law in 2016 is not statutory law of 1928. Constitutional law of 2016 is not constitutional law of 1928. So there's this, you know, truth and falsehood strangely mixed in our time that we have to be very careful of when you start talking about statutory law, constitutional law, and people's mentality is, oh yeah, what Noble Drew Ali did is whatever. No, it's not. There's a difference, right? There was infiltration. You just read the letter. That even though it's municipal court, even municipal court came back and gave the ruling or gave the verdict in favor of Mili Il, who is listed on or as one of the very first individuals that was with Noble Drew Ali that had the authority to exercise as quote-unquote Moorish Science Temple of America. That's why we tell people, don't get caught up in 2016 with Moorish Science Temple of America and wanting to start one and what. Don't go there, because there was infiltration. Set up a study group and teach people the truth about their nationality and birthrights. And in the jurisdiction that you're in, do just like you do with your nationality and proclamation papers. You have all these Moors come together. You find the Moors that are best qualified. Those Moors are going to be the ones that are going to be talking with whoever that you have to talk to, sending out whatever that has to be sent out to let these people who are in occupation of your land know where you stand as a body, not as some individuals, as a body. That's why we said, well, if people really want to be tied to Moorish Science Temple of America, you got Grand Chief Nature El Bay in Asbury Park, where you can go online, Google him, go online, and you could be part of his temple. He got online membership. Be part of Canaanland Moors Temple. We give honorary membership. We won't give seal paperwork and do all those stuff for people who aren't in our jurisdiction of Canaan land. But you could send in an application membership form and become a member of our temple, and we'll send you documentation sealed to let you know that you are a member. So anytime these guys want to play, you're not a Moor because you're not part of a temple, you can flash your stuff, your little acceptance letter that we'll send you that's sealed with the Moorish Divine and National Movement seal, so you can let anybody know who challenges you that you are part of a temple. And watch how fast they shut the hell up and stop their bickering with you about you're not a Moor because you're not part of a temple or whatever. Right? So again, home rule in constitutional and statutory law is local self-government or the right thereof. And then the UN declarations people came after Noble Drew Ali and told them that Aboriginal and Indigenous people have a right to do whatever it is that they got to do in order to maintain their, That's why Noble Drew Ali gave the Moors divine constitution and bylaws, told them that they can make up their own customs and all that stuff because we're Aboriginal and Indigenous. Being that we're Aboriginal and Indigenous, we should govern ourselves. But you're not going to govern yourself with niggerdom. You're going to govern yourself because you study and you recognize what Noble Drew Ali brought you. And once you recognize what Noble Drew Ali brought you, you have an obligation to exercise it. Not because you're trying to get something or trying to benefit in some way of whatever, but because that's what you should be doing if you're a Moor. And again, if you're in a place, a jurisdiction where there isn't a temple, you either find some Moors that are doing work and help them do more work, right? While you're doing that, you're also exercising or, being self-counsel and doing what it is that has to be done under the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice so that you protect yourself. Right? So we do will that answers the question. And remember that when you're talking about statutes of whatever and constitutional things and all that, remember that Drew Ali was very specific in the divine warning by the prophet for the nations. And if we are a nation, then divine warning is something that we should probably go revisit more than one time and look up everything so you can realize what it is that this individual really did. Because he told the Moors, you know, I've done so much stuff that if I tell you everything that I did, it would turn your brain to water. So I'm not going to tell you everything that I did. You're going to have to study to find out what it is that he did. Because, you know, there's even adepts don't have all the answers. That's why the priesthood is dead. Because the obligation is on the people. This is your Moorish movement. This is not the Grand Sheikh's movement. This is not the Adept Chambers movement. This is not the Grand Governor, Grand Secretary, Grand Treasurer, Grand Mufti, you know, Moorish Business League. This is not their movement. This is your movement. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? You're going to just sit back and wait to see if the Moors build something, or are you going to pick up some tools and build the stuff that you want to see? Yeah, we know it's going to be hard work. With just you doing it. But, you know, this is where we are, unfortunately. Because since 1929, Moors dropped the ball. Right? And it's not, you know, it's not a sense of everything's over. You know what I mean? That's not what we're saying. It's not everything's over. It's we're behind, you know, 100 years or something. We just need to catch up. And with, you know, internet and all these stuff, it's easy to catch up to 100 years of where we're supposed to be. Because remember, we're not doing this for us. We're doing this for generations coming after us. So whatever lumps that we get, we should take those happily. Smile, take your lumps, you know what I mean? And make sure that the next generations coming up that are Moors don't have to suffer. And do your best to make sure that you get the information out to our people that they're not Negro, black, colored, that they should start saying that they're Moors and all that stuff. Whether they're in a temple or not, they should be saying that they're Moors. Whether they have a nationality card or not, they should be saying that they're Moors. It should be something common to them. You know what I mean? The other question, my family and I have been searching for information regarding how to claim property, conveyance, and indigenous funds to no avail. We also want to know how to obtain Moorish tags for a conveyance so that we take out of the de facto DMV. Do you have any information on these matters? I look forward to hearing from you. Do your research on, not do your research, go on YouTube, Taj Tariq Bey endorses DMV or something like that, and listen to what him and Brother Nature are talking about people's ignorance of what's going on and how they should be exercising. Because the situation that we're in right now, being under occupation, and you have Sandra Bland, all these people as examples of these people's activity, being that they are running occupation. So don't think that because we know that we're Moors and we know that we have a nationality and birthrights that, you know, European is just going to yield just because you say that you're Moors. Ain't no Europeans yielding just because you say that we're Moors. I mean, some of them do. Don't get me wrong. There are Moors who got their own tags or whatever like that, who don't have tags, who got expired tags, and they don't get bothered. They don't get tickets or nothing like that. Why? Because their energy is not cocooned, right? So when you say, yeah, we're doing research on, you know, how to claim property and how to claim conveyance and how to get our tags and how to do this and how to do that, as soon as you go there, you already know that, you know, you're skipping steps because that shouldn't be the first things that you want to do, how to get tags. You should have at least a 5 years of studying before you talk about getting tags and claiming property and stuff like that. Because as soon as you start talking about claiming property, right? As soon as you start talking about claiming property, know that these people are going to attack you when you start claiming property. Because if you start claiming property and get away with it, these people are definitely going to start attacking. Because once you get away with it, you're probably, or more than likely, going to tell somebody else. And once you tell somebody else how to do that, they know that it's over for them. Once people start realizing what's what. But if you want to go study that stuff, just go look up mortgage fraud on RV Bay Publications. They got a mortgage fraud section. Google, YouTube search, mortgage fraud, Tashreeq Bay. Don't just be listening to any Moors talking about claiming properties and all that stuff. Stick to the foundation so you can get the foundational information to assist you in finding out this information. Same thing with right to travel and all that. Don't just go listening to Moors. Oh yeah, Moors say, yeah, we got plates, come on down, get the plates 500 or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go get those plates. Don't go that. Don't even go there. Because half those people are opportunists that just want to get in your pockets. Because trust me, it ain't no $50,000 or nothing like that to make some tags. You know what I mean? It's a $20, $30 or whatever to make some tags. Just to put it out there. Just to put it out there so people could see. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't no secret. Tags ain't nothing. It ain't about no tags. Why? Where are these tags at? These tags in a goddamn envelope. Because ain't no way that I'm putting these on a conveyance to go out there and have these people come steal my stuff again. Because that's how they do when you start exercising rights. Right? And this is not some plastic crap. These are tags. You can put these on. You get these made. But know for a fact that once you start exercising your rights to this type of capacity, you're a threat to these people. Because anybody who sees these is going to ask questions on where did you get those from or whatever. And you got all these people out here claim that they're Moors and they got tags and all that stuff. Anybody that has some type of office that gives stickers and insurance and all that, because with these, you know, insurance is void with these. You don't need insurance with these, right? You're gonna have your bonds or whatever like that set up to protect your property. You're gonna have, you know, some account that has nothing to do with those people, that you're going to be putting the same 500, 200, whatever that you got to put in there. You know what I mean? Just like you do with insurance. So if something happens, you know, you have a place to go to either pay for whatever damages you cause or to fix whatever damages somebody institute on you when you're exercising your rights, right? So we know that it's real. We know that it works, but people get a little antsy. People get a little, you know, high-strung, and they start doing stuff before their mind is where it's supposed to be for those stuff to work. Those stuff don't work if you have nigger mindset. That's why Noble Draw told them, study, study, study. Because the only way that we're going to get out of this is if we're studying. Don't think you're getting out of this mess that we're in without studying. Right? I am in need of some literature explaining the process of nationalization. I am correcting my status completely. Any information would be greatly appreciated. Best thing, rvbaypublications.com. Once again, study, study, study. Because the only way that we're going to get out of this is if we know. You're not going to get out of this by guessing. There's no priesthood. Yes, we got information. Yes, we might have, we might have certificates and stuff like that, say that we're sheiks and all that, you know what I mean? People look, oh wow, he has a certificate with the seal on it, and oh yeah, he's legitimate and all that stuff. Priesthood is dead. There ain't no priesthood. There's no priesthood. People are going to go study Study, 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 study. And then when you finish studying, what am I studying next? Reply, study yourself. And then you're going to study that with study, 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 study. Right? So, with that, 9 o'clock, Islam to all the Moors. Don't forget, 9:30, Moorish Heritage and History School, eyes wide open, 347-945-5899. blogtalkradio.com, MHHS -eyes wide open, 9:30. So we'll just do our little closeout. Don't forget, willofalah.com, the new Iron Sheik mix CD is going to be uploaded there soon for you to get that. In the meantime, make sure you go check out the good sister. Just dropped her EP. We've been waiting for her to drop this thing. Sister Roots just put out her stuff. Go support, you know what I mean? She's definitely worth a listen. Up from the Root, it's out, it's available on willofalah.com. Just go to the new music section and download her stuff. Buy it, it's cheap, 8 notes, $1 a song. We'll just do our closeout, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam and Ashe, peace and Hotep. We'll check y'all at 9:30.